Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we're talking all about Fanatics Fest. None of us went. The one person who maybe had some connection to it's not here. So it's us four, but we're going to give our impression of Fanatics Fest as outsiders observing social media. We'll compare that to the social media posts in regards to the national and kind of give our takes on what we think is going to happen in the future with sports cards, shows, and big events like this one. On this episode, you have me, Scott, Phil, Chris, and Jeff. Good to have you here, guys. Thank you all for watching. And let's just jump into this. Very first thing, Fanatics Fest. Phil, what is it?
Well, it is a fan fest that's more oriented to the sports fan than a card collector. I think I heard the show was like 70% just sports and pop culture, and then 30% was the card show, which you actually had to walk past all of the pop culture and sports fandom stuff to even get to the card show, which I think was about 300 tables. So this was at the Javits Center in New York City. I heard that this is part of like a 3-year deal where they have to hold it there the next couple of years at least, which is interesting. And this is a show that people were pretty critical about from a card collecting perspective. Like, how can they pull this off? Do they even know what they're doing? It doesn't look that organized. 2 to 3 weeks out, where's the list of events or vendors? What's really happening here? And I think because of that, a lot of collectors chose not to go, but also because the East Coast National in White Plains was the same weekend. And also because the Sports Card National was, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So a lot going on. And sure, there were hiccups, I heard. The VIP experience was something that wasn't really well thought out. The bags were cheap. The contents of the bag were even cheaper, with retail packs of Heritage and some other baseball stuff and soccer packs that nobody particularly likes. But I did hear that it was a good fusion of sports and pop culture, great for families and children, which the Sports Card National is not usually. Many dealers are saying even they had a good show. I don't know if they're saying that because they don't want to get Daddy Ruben upset, or if they actually did have a good show, because it cost them probably $5,000 to do it, depending on where they traveled from. Some were coming from California, some were coming from Texas. The booths I heard were $3,000, and then on top of that, travel expenses. So, this wasn't a show geared towards the value box, because in order to pay off your tables, and maybe this was part of the deal, the showcases weren't actually stuff that you could bring. They wanted to supply their own. So if you see some of the footage of Gronk spiking cards in their slabs against the showcases, at first I'm like, geez, you could crack that thing. But if it belongs to the facility, then okay, I understand it now. And they probably understand it's made out of like Gorilla Glass or something and it won't shatter. But I heard that a lot of dealers were starting probably Saturday, Sunday, when the card show became a bit busier. And that's when the overall show was busiest as well, especially Saturday. Between Friday and Saturday, there was a big like uptick in attendees. The dealers were providing a lot of knowledge to new potential buyers. They're asking about questions. With that, there was a little bit of a dilemma with credit cards. People kind of came out and like whipped out their credit card. And that's the point where you could tell like, okay, this person hasn't bought a sports card before. They haven't been to a card show before. So you're trying to use credit cards to buy cards when, most of these dealers like working with cash or something similar to that. I think this is a opportunity for Fanatics maybe to legitimize these transactions. I think all of the tables should be required to take credit cards, and maybe there's a preference and there's some sort of a deal they can cut if you're able to kind of work around that and provide cash or whatever. But hey, I think given what we expected, given all of the negativity and skepticism coming in from the card people, I think that it was ultimately a success. I think people had a really good time. I think the quality of the cards was pretty good. A lot of the folks that got knocked off the sort of the national show floor because they were splitting a booth, and they're trying to get away from that with the NSCC. So they didn't allow people to kind of sublet part of their area to other dealers with high-end inventories. Like a lot of those people, one of those guys is Duck Captain 37, who actually did a deal with Tom Brady with Papa Smitty's cards. Another guy sets up at a local show here, and they have it's like a 10-minute video of them talking to Tom Brady about his passion for collecting and when he started collecting, why he collects. And they're going back and forth about that. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was deals with Jake Paul, Tom Brady, Mike Trout on the phone. Think Livy, what's her last name? Dune? What is it?
Done.
She also did a deal with someone for Paul Skeens cards. Like, they pulled all the stops for celebrities. And the one thing I'll note about this versus the National, we all saw a lot of negative stuff about the National. The parking, the walking in, the lines off the freeway, everything kind of seemed negative. The bathrooms. I did not see one negative thing. Maybe I didn't look that hard. I wasn't really seeking it out for content. I didn't see anything negative about this show. I only saw people just how excited, how fun it was. It wasn't crowded. There was stuff to do. And I think that's pretty cool. Which one would I rather go to? That's a different question, just because if I'm going to go to a card show, I'd rather go to a card show. But I also understand the pull of seeing Tom Brady talk about things and being close to those important people in our hobby's history. So that's pretty cool. What do you think, Chris?
I want to congratulate Scott on the acting performance of a lifetime by when he just pretended to not know Livy Dunn's last name. I almost bought it for like a split second. That was very well done.
So it is done.
Tom Hanks-esque right there.
So I will say one note. I remember we were doing a show a few months ago, and we're talking about Paul Skeens, and I corrected someone saying it was Dune because I thought it was Dune. We had to edit that part out, and so
I edited it out. Scott,
I really didn't know. So, anyways, keep going.
Yeah, that was 2 months ago.
Anyway, out too, Phil.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard like glowing things. Like this sounds like this was really fun. It seemed like a really, really fun event. I wish I could have been there. I kind of like the idea that they were bringing in sports fans, and Fanatics is trying to convert them into hopeless, baseball card degenerates. And I think that's a brilliant strategy. There was a great video of guys from the Card World walking around with slabs, and they were looking for people with jerseys. This guy had a Rangers jersey. So they went up to him and asked him, "Do you collect cards?" And he said, "No." And they're like, "Well, here, we're going to give you one." They gave him a Lundqvist. I'm not saying his name right. The Heinrich. I can't think of whatever his last name is. The Swedish goalie that the Rangers had. They gave him like a card with an on-card auto of that guy. And the dude was like nuts and was asking questions about it and was really excited. So I feel like that was the general idea. And that to me sounds like a fantastic idea. And I know they must have spent just an absolute ton of money on this. But every video I saw looked like people were having a lot of fun. I know there were some issues with the autographs and just massive crowds, but I mean, that's part of the game here. And I will say I would love to see some sort of pitching competition between Livy Dunn and Michael Rubin, because I saw a lot of similar mechanics in those two throwing arms. She might win the accuracy. I don't know.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a good point. I also have seen almost nothing but positive reviews from it. I enjoyed, shout out to Neo. He had a vlog of each day, and it was fun to see from his point of view the lines for the Topps Chrome exclusive, and then also the just what Phil was describing, where you had the sports area and then you had to go past it to get to the cards area. It was fun to see. I don't. It seems like the excitement was really high there, and I hope that they can keep that up. I know it was the first one. They've got a couple other regional ones planned. I think one's in Pittsburgh and maybe Orlando. So we're kind of hoping that they come out west and do it. I'm wondering how the regional ones are going to differ from this. Are they going to try to get primarily athletes from that city? Like, are they going to try to get Paul Skeens or some Penguins players out at the Pittsburgh one? That would be interesting. I don't know if they make this more region centric. I think they could get a lot of people who really aren't exposed to cards, because there's some people that are just fans of their own team or their own city. And if they could get them out and get them exposed, they might be able to move towards that 10x number that we keep hearing from Michael Rubin. So I think it's a good start. I would like to go to one of these at some point. I don't think I wouldn't go for the autographs, but I would like to see some of the fan interaction with the players.
Yeah. Some of the other points here, the vendors that were set up. So you had PSA, you had Beckett there, you had Baseball Card Exchange. Based on a friend of mine who went, BRoth6, who's Card Soup on Instagram, he had said that SGC told him that they overstaffed by about 3 to 4 people. Just didn't really know what to expect. And they did roughly in that time, he talked to him on Friday, and they had received like 400 cards for submission. And at that time at the National, like they had already done like 10 times the business. So I don't know if that's apples to apples, because the National also is a few days prior to Friday when it starts, but it seemed like some of those vendors just didn't get the business that they expected. And maybe that was just a Friday thing, or maybe that was throughout the whole weekend thing. So I think a lot of dealers kind of came in open-minded, like, okay, this is our chance to set up. This is something that will probably be a loss leader. Allegedly, Jeff Wilson asked Michael Rubin about profitability with the show, and Rubin had said, we are not making money on this show. So I wonder, we looked at Mint Collective. Well, I don't know if we looked at it from a Spitballin perspective, but from an industry, we saw that show happen, and that was like a very, very poor man's version of this, and that was a loss leader in itself. And I don't think, some things can lose money, but they can still be successful in the eyes of the guy who runs the show. In that case, it was probably Collectible and some other companies. So do you guys think this show was successful in Michael Rubin's eyes? Even though he came in knowing that he'd lose money, and he probably lost money even with $400 VIP packages that didn't cost him much.
If he came in expecting to lose money, I think it's a total win. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you everybody's going to speak positively. Those VIP packages were brutal. I don't feel bad. I don't know if that's the right word. It just sucks. So they didn't make them better. I don't think anyone's going to buy them next year, but watch next year. They're going to be amazing. That's how it always goes. But I think it was totally successful. I think a lot of the athletes, if they were pretending to care, did a great job. But I think a lot of the athletes legitimately cared. And I think that's good for him. And I think that's really good for growing sports cards. If you can get athletes into it and they're posting about it on their socials consistently, that's how you grow sports cards.
Is this something that got reported outside of the sports card community because of the big names there? I mean, did this make any local news, national news, Sports Center?
Yeah. And when I first started to hear about like, wow, this show is actually turning out to be a pretty good thing. I don't know how many card collectors are there compared with other people. I know they were outnumbered a lot by the regular fans. But Michael Rubin was on an interview with Sorkin, is that his name, from CNBC? And he was talking about the show and how great it was going to be, and how they hired the guy that did Comic-Con. They're going to do a sports version of it. How he talked about the Sports Card National that just happened in Cleveland, and he was like, okay, we can, it's good, it's great and all, but it's aged. It hasn't caught up with the time. So let's try to do something a little bit better. And I think after seeing this last weekend happen, it's now been confirmed that he's not competing directly with the National. Fanatics is going to be business first. And although he would probably like to run every part about the hobby, they want to grow the hobby first and foremost. He's business minded. He wants to make the pie bigger for everybody. And this is a show that it's not trying to be the best card show. It's trying to be the best sports show or sports fan show. And I think a lot of people that went to this show said that East Coast National is still a better card show. The Philly regional show is still a better card show. I think, it's funny. You can tell how disorganized this was, or how little time they gave themselves to put this on, because they asked Rubin during that interview with CNBC, what's the most expensive ticket cost? $60 to get in at the door, I think. And he had said like, I think it's like, I don't know, maybe like $1,800. I don't know that information for like the most expensive ticket. And that gives you access to everything, is what he said. And then somebody live fact checked him on that and was like, no, actually I see a ticket that's $9,000. So for the people complaining about the cost, like, I get it. It sucks and it's not for everybody, but it's in New York City. This is the reason why we're struggling so hard to find venues that aren't Rosemont, Cleveland, or Atlantic City that fit so many people, because it's just cost prohibitive for everybody, including the dealers, to get there. How
many retail packs of Topps Heritage do you get for your $9,000 ticket? I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. In that VIP package, in that VIP package, you got a voucher. It was like a skip line voucher. So you got a chance to skip the line for any one thing, and it said Topps line. So you had to kind of be shrewd enough to be like, okay, that's probably for like the exclusive Topps Chrome, Big Apple, New York City boxes, right? And on Friday, what people did was everybody was in that same line to skip the line. So you had two lines, one for the people that didn't have the VIP package, and the other one was almost as long for the people that were all using that voucher all at the same time, and you could just have waited Saturday afternoon. You don't know how things are going to go. I think having the East Coast National the same weekend was actually kind of good because people got a chance to kind of go to both as a customer / fan. With like some of the issues or drawbacks of the show, it seemed like there was a lot of stalking of athletes. If you guys saw any of the footage and the dealers, like, guys, get away from the table, give Tom Brady some space, and everybody's just like following the athletes. Yes, they did have security, but on another note, I heard that Jalen Brunson on Friday stopped signing autographs because it was too hectic, allegedly, and people were cutting the line, and it got too crazy, and he was just like, I'm done, I'm out of here. So those are some of the kinks you're going to have to kind of work through. First time show. The amenities I heard were great. There were seats. There was Wi-Fi that worked. The AC was strong. So where the National has struggled in that regard, but some of these other areas they can definitely improve upon for next time for sure.
So Grant Williams, I don't know if you guys saw, he pulled a massive card. He pulled a Luca National Treasures RPA. I wish it was someone else, not Grant Williams. I can imagine if like someone a little bit bigger name pulled that. It's cool Grant Williams is into cards, don't get me wrong. But that was interesting. Was that
if it was just someone else, Scott, would it have been on camera? And if it wasn't on camera, then it loses the whole hype around it, right?
But if it was like Tom Brady, that's actually a poor example. He's a football player. Let's say it was Jason Tatum. Then
what are the odds you got? What odds do you guys want to put that someone knew it was in that box? That box was scanned, right?
Yeah,
come on. Had to have been.
It's a huge card. That's
makes for better TV.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder who paid for that box.
Can we take a little like sidetrack here, a little tangent? Do you guys see that Mike Trout pulled his own Bowman Chrome autograph out of a single box of 2009 Bowman Chrome? Was that box CT scanned?
1,000,000% that box was scanned. He didn't know, but whoever gave him those boxes, for sure that was in there. And that was a fantastic video. That worked. That was sent to me. I counted 11 people sent me that video that I've known from other walks of life outside of sports cards. And they had questions. Like, what is that card? Why does he want his own autographed card? Like, why can't he just autograph cards? Is this valuable? What kind of box is this? So that video got out there, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, well,
the high five with this kid was incredible. That was a great moment.
It was perfect, but it's definitely blurring the lines between entertainment and collecting. It's like when you write a script and you know exactly what's coming, but the other person might not know, and which is fine. But it's funny that now, whenever somebody gets a huge hit like that, we look at it with that sort of skepticism about.
It'll never be the same. It sucks. Like, even when it's authentic, the few times.
It was like the first pack he opened, for crying out loud.
It was like the first pack he opened. I know.
But it was still a cool video. Like, I get that was 100% staged, but it was still great. Like, I enjoyed it. This kid was super excited, and that's the whole, we're supposed to make kids excited in this hobby.
Yeah. The auto checklist was a little bit lower back then. I think the odds maybe like 1 in 53, 54. But yeah, I mean, how many boxes did they open with his kid right next to him?
There's no way they sat there the whole time.
There's
no way. But last thing, the one thing that I did think, actually, it might be a positive. I think it's dumb, and I could be alone. I don't think I'm alone. The only thing I don't like out of this whole event is the Cactus Jack boxes. So if you missed it, it's Travis Scott's alter ego, and 1,000 of those Topps Chrome Cactus Jack boxes were released, and they're going for like $2,000 online now. And that's primarily because of just them being rare and hot, and that's about it. Oh, but I wasn't a fan of them. What were your guys' thoughts on the Cactus Jack boxes?
My initial thought, there's a Paul Skeens in there. We joked about it, I think, on a previous episode, and sure enough, there is. And right now, that's like, there are no Paul Skeens rookie cards. I think there's only museum collection, and that's it right now until Bowman Chrome comes out. So that card is popular. It's on eBay right now for bids. There's a couple at like $400 or $500. What concerns me is that people are going to, exactly, Jeff, people are going to spend a lot of money on these Cactus Jack cards, and in 6 months, they're not going to be worth anything. And those people are never coming back to the hobby because they're just going to lose their shirt on one thing and be done with it. And it's just like a weekend hype it's going to go away. I see hype and no hope, to go back to our previous wordplay. I don't know.
That's a great one. I do think this is very reminiscent of the National Silver Packs. Remember when those first kind of came out and people realized how good they were? We thought, not we, but some individuals thought those were like the cards to get of players because like their first rookie. Usually is not the case. Every once in a while it may stick, but not a great situation. What do you think, Phil, as a wax connoisseur?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples of this. Like the good thing, well, so 1,000 boxes of Cactus Jack.
I think so.
So it's not cases, that's boxes. So that is pretty low. Like Gary V's V Friends, I think that was 2,000 boxes at first. And he, of course, created a ton of hype around that. And those boxes were getting shilled. I don't know if they're getting paid for above $5,000. I don't know where they're at today. But yeah, at the end of the day, long term, you need demand. Low supply isn't enough, but that will keep a little bit of floor for the time being. So that's the game they play. You know, if they did it with Cosmic Chrome when they first created it, and they tripled the print run the next year when they realized they could, when the demand was there. So keep the supply low, and a lot of stuff like Gilded can break expectations. With that, it was more about the sealed Gilded, which was $350. Then all of a sudden it was going for $700. I don't know what it's at now, but the first year Gilded.
Yep. So any other thoughts on this event? I guess let me ask you a question. If you could only go to one, you have enough money to go to one event, and let's say you also have $1,000 to spend on cards as well on top of it, which one are you going to and why? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, since I haven't been to a national, I'd go to the national because I'd really want to get to Filmington's rooftop lounge party. That would make it all worth it for me.
Yeah, I'd spend all my $1,000 there, Jeff, right?
Yes, I would as well. But as this being the first show, I don't know, we could see what happens. I appreciate that question, but what I was going to ask you and Phil was, as people who have been to the national, do you think there's things that they could take from this particular show to improve their experience besides the working Wi-Fi and AC?
Those are pretty big ones, I will say. Like, just about the ease of moving around, how crowded it is, trying to make it a better experience. It didn't feel consumer friendly at the national, really, compared to Fanatics Fest. It basically summarizes it right there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, Jeff and I are excited. We have the Burbank show coming up this weekend, which is our national. So, I mean, for me to choose between those two, I would probably take the national because I would be going like more specifically for cards. I don't want to go sniffing around celebrities. Like, that doesn't really do anything for me.
It doesn't do anything for me either.
No, the cards are way more exciting, which is probably a sad statement and reflection on me as a person, that the cardboard is more interesting. But yeah, so I'm excited for the Burbank show. I would love to get to a national, and I would obviously, like Jeff, love to attend a Filmington rooftop party.
This is just Neo asking the question based on what you've seen or heard or experienced. If you attended the actual Fan Fest, would you attend the NYC event in the future? And most people are saying no, but I think that's kind of like, well, most card collectors don't like traveling into large card shows because of the cost, because of logistics, because of whatever. When it comes down to it, most people just don't attend big regional card shows or the national itself. So I think those numbers have to be taken with a grain of salt. I think you have to ask the same question for the national event for next year. Based on what you know or have experienced in the past, would you attend the national in Rosemont in 2025? And I think you might get a similar breakdown. Me, I don't know. I kind of feel like I missed out on this New York City one, and I am kind of close, which helps. I do like New York City. You can't get that anywhere else. Best city in the world, as they say, from a Bostonian.
You've obviously never been to Cincinnati, Ohio.
It's just, yeah. The issue is it's not going to scratch the card show itch. So if you go to that, you still have to go to a card show because I feel like it's not the best card show. Everybody knows that. And it won't be next year either. So
I was going to say, I will say that I heard some people, like Tom Brady gave like a speech and was talking about his career. Like, attending something like that would be really cool. There's an MLB Network special coming up about Greg Maddux. And I think you've probably all seen like the preview of that they put on Instagram, where it's like Maddux and Bonds kind of retroactively discussing in a bat where they face that is fascinating. If you had someone like Greg Maddux or someone like, obviously it wouldn't be Bonds, but like a couple other retired baseball players at one of these panels talking about facing each other and things they were trying to do to each other, I would sit through that like wrapped at full attention, for a couple hours. That would definitely be worth attending for me.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if the national would ever do anything besides have just the autograph signings. And I know a lot of people go there for the autographs, but it seems like yeah, having something like this Q&A or an interview like that would be pretty cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, like if it was like the first game that came to my mind, if we had like Gossage and Kirk Gibson talking about like the 84 World Series and the decision not to walk Kirk Gibson and how it basically ended the Tigers won the World Series. Like I would love to hear that, like how they both like approached that at bat and how it went horribly wrong for Gossage. That kind of stuff would be great because we've seen that with Eckersley and Gibson a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Always interesting. And poor Eckersley will sit there for it.
He
Repeatedly.
will. He's a very good sport about it.
Yeah, he really is.
Who cares, right, Chris? He's a closer. We don't need that.
Nah, we sure don't. We sure don't.
One of the rare ones.
He's a bum.
Yeah. He's an average starting pitcher who turned into, hey, shockingly, one of the greatest relief pitchers of all time.
Yeah. So if I were to pick between the National and this Fanatics Fest, I'd go to the National personally. Let me ask you this, Chris. I like asking you hypotheticals. You said meeting celebrities doesn't really do much for you. Okay. Would you rather go and $10,000? Okay. How do I want to phrase this? Would you rather get a Freddie Freeman orange Bowman Chrome autograph or get flown out to Fanatics Fest and meet Freddie Freeman and talk with him for a couple minutes?
I'll take the Bowman Chrome autograph. Because it might be cool to meet him, but that he doesn't want to meet me, and I'm just inconveniencing him. And as nice a guy as he is, I know what someone's face looks like when they don't want to talk to me. I'm seeing 3 of them right now. So like, I don't need that. I'd be uncomfortable about it. It's just kind of weird. And especially when you get to an age where all your favorite players are younger than you.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just totally different. Now, if I were 15 or 12, then 100% I would go meet Freddie Freeman. But as
I'm 29 and I'm already almost there too, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm at the age now people are retiring. So in Major League Baseball, that is. So I feel the same way. It's great to meet people, but like you said, they don't care to meet you. They're nice and they're respectful about it, but like, it's not the same thing. Yeah. All right. Well, any final thoughts on Fanatics Fest?
I made a comment a few weeks ago about how the Silver Pack promotion program that happens at the National, how like Fanatics / Tops could strip that away completely and just have it be a Fanatics Fest only thing. But more in line with my comment today about how I don't think they're going to try to compete with the National. I don't think they're a threat. I don't think this is the same thing. This is a different sort of thing they're trying to market. I think those promotions are safe for now for the National to continue to have those Silver Pack programs, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I agree.
Makes sense.
All right, well, let's wrap it up right there. Thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments down below if you wish you could have gone to Fanatics Fest, if you had some FOMO, if you went to Fanatics Fest, or if it really isn't up your alley. And other than that, we will see you in the next video.